Welcome to yet another episode of Brew with Abdu. In today's episode, we have Mr. Mohammad Jafar, also known as Mo. And I will let him introduce himself, please.
Thank you, Abdu. Thank you so much. I'm really excited to be here. I honestly I have no clue why this guy called me in here. And this is why I agreed, to be honest. So just a very quick, not so boring introduction. My name is Mohammad, or Mo Jaf. Don't need to call me sir, by the way, just Mo. All right, so let's just keep it at that. I always tell people don't need to call me coach. I have a gym, so remind people, just call me Mo. You know, I'm just Mo.
Okay.
So yeah, I am I recently opened the Grind OCR and Fitness, which is not just a gym; it's a community. All right, that consists of everyday people, athletes, people who are into fitness, and I'll get into that later. But I'm also I'm an athlete, hybrid, an OCR athlete. So I run Spartan races, high rocks, for example. I do a lot of trail running. So this is the kind of sports I'm in right now. And yeah, so I'm 37. Okay. 37 years old, still active, alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah.
And yeah, I'm looking forward to this.
Amazing. So you won the Spartans challenge back in 2019 or 18, I think so, I believe.
I won the Spartan challenge?
Yes.
Well, okay, so 2018, this is when I started my Spartan journey. So this is when I did my first actual Spartan race.
Okay.
And prior to that, no experience whatsoever. None. I've never ran 3K in my life. I didn't know what I was getting myself into. This all started just as a group of friends at a gym. Guys, let's go to Spartan. Great. I wasn't even in Kuwait. It was December, around Christmas, New Year's time. So I was in Prague and Budapest and Vienna, and I was partying, having fun. And I was like, I'm seeing the WhatsApp group about this thing called Spartan race. I'm like, yeah, cool. I've never done a charity race. I've never been in any of those, those 3K fun runs. And it's always just the gym, friends, family. That's it. That was my lifestyle, It was very dynamic, but it was, I would say, prior to doing Spartan was, I'll be honest, it was unhealthy, right? And I see it now. We didn't see it back then, but looking at it now. So that was December 2017. And then I actually heard of Spartan from a friend, not a friend, a brother, and my cousin, but I consider him to be, his name is Umar al-Madani. And he told me about the Spartan race a few months before that.
Okay.
And I didn't know what it was. I had no clue. But then I got back to Kuwait and I was like, okay, it's after New Year's. There's 2 weeks left until the Spartan race. Let me just Google, all right? Just go on Google and check it out. And I was like, shit, I'm doing that. I'm running that. And it was like, I was looking at the obstacles. I was like, 30 burpees if I fail an obstacle? You're kidding me. Like, I'm going to do fucking 30 burpees? Like, I was like, okay. And then I spoke to my buddies. We were called the Viking Club, or the Vikings, okay?
Damn.
Because it was the Viking Club in Radisson, right? So we wanted to represent Radisson, Viking Club. And we had the jersey, and it was cool. I wasn't in shape back then the way I am now, not just in body, but in mind. And I was like, okay, I have my jersey. I'm part of this team. Let's do it. And I've never climbed a 6 or 7 feet wall. What is this stuff hanging from monkey bars? I'm so doing burpees. And guess what? Went to and on race day, it was January 19, 2018. All right, that was a Spartan race in Kuwait. That was my first ever race, and I still remember the night before the race, couldn't sleep all night, getting cold sweat and panicking, and am I gonna get lost? Am I gonna wake up early and all that stuff like that we think of, And then fast forward to the first day of the race, driving to the race. I ran it, of course, finished it. Finished a 5K 20 obstacle race. I did so many burpees. Okay, so let's just say I did so many burpees. I failed there was one wall I couldn't do, and I remember the rope climb. I did it because I was used to doing the legless, and I used to do it legless, no technique. Right, failed the monkey bars. Shit, I failed everything. All right, so it's like 180, I think 150, 180 burpees, but I crossed the finish line. So. And I felt good. And I remember seeing my family there and seeing, and it was nice. It was to be cheered on, and then group of friends. We were all together taking pictures with our medals. And I couldn't walk to the car. I remember my quads were killing me and I was in pain. And as soon as, we left, the race, I'm driving back home. Like, I like it. I put in my head, I'm like, I'm going to do another one. When is the next one? It just hit me. And that's what we say at Spartan, you'll know the finish line. And it's so true, by the way. And it hits everyone differently. And the experience that I got from my first race was, okay, I wasn't good in the obstacles. I couldn't do what I can do now. But that took a lot of hard work, sacrifice, and I'll get into that later. But I was like, I need to do this. And then I did my research. I'm like, okay, so Spartan race is a thing called the trifecta tribe. So Spartan has 3 different races. Sprint, which is a 5K, Super, the 10K, and the Beast is 21. And the numbers of obstacles varies according to the race distance. So if you finish all 3, you become part of this trifecta tribe. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to do a trifecta. I want to be part of this tribe. And this tribe extends all the way from Kuwait to the US and Europe and Southeast Asia, because Spartans all over the world, right? It's not just in Kuwait and the Middle East. And then I did, a few weeks later, went to Bahrain, registered for a Beast, which was 21. I remember that time it was 23.5 kilometers. And it was 38 obstacles. I was like, I just finished the 5K. Let me progress to 10. And I had 2.5 weeks to prepare for that. And I did as much as I can. I saw the progression there a little bit with the running. And then I went to Madrid before Ramadan. Mm-hmm. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna do this before Ramadan. I'm gonna be part of this trifecta tribe. And I did it. I achieved it. 5th of May 2018, went to Madrid, finished the Super, which was around 13.5 kilometers or 14 kilometers. I went with my cousin Umar, who I told you about. Yeah. We went together. We finished it. It was tough. I've never seen elevation like that. And it wasn't in Madrid, the city. It was in the outskirts, in the mountains. So it was very rocky. There was steep elevation. And I finished it. But then I got an email that said, congratulations, you're part of a trifecta tribe. You qualified for Greece, Sparta. And I was like, this was all new to me. And I was like, I qualified?
Oh my God.
Shit, I qualified for something sports related, And it felt so good.
Right.
And I'll be honest, it felt so damn good to be, like part of a tribe and to be part of this thing that's bigger than you and I. And I'm telling you, back then I didn't know it. Now, looking back, of course, it's a blessing. And I was so in less than 5 months, I managed to finish what's equivalent to a marathon distance. 3 races, and then almost 80 obstacles. Of course, I failed a lot of them. Okay, but I did my burpees.
Yeah, you made up for it.
I made up for it, and I wasn't going competitive. I was going, let me test the waters.
True.
Let me see what is this thing that's just dragging me into this thing called Spartan race, OCR, obstacle course racing. After coming back from Madrid, I remember the medals, like they meant a lot to me, because it was a reminder. I was like, I'm going to do a ×2 trifecta before the end of the year. And I did. I finished my 2nd trifecta of that year. So I did the Sprint, Super, and Beast again in Oman, in Jebel Sif, a beautiful place, by the way. Went to Oman, and there I met people from the Middle East, I met people from Kuwait. Mm-hmm. And then I met the owner of Spartan Kuwait, Yusuf Shatti, and I met so many athletes. I met, so I discovered that there was a community, all right, in Kuwait. A few months later, I joined Spartan Kuwait. So 2019 was more transitioning. Okay, now I know Spartan, and I discovered something that I really love. I want to go competitive. I want to compete in my age group. And then I started going really, really competitive. And before the end of the year in 2019, I finished 5th in my age group. And I was really happy. And I saw the difference. And I started seeing my body, my mind change, my perspective of life change. And the thing is, one of the important lessons that I learned started this journey. And this was just in 2 years that I had to make so many sacrifices. So one of the sacrifices I made was, you know, I stopped hanging out with friends, I'll be honest, as much. My circle of friends have changed. Priorities have changed. I've lost a lot of people in terms of human connection and friendship, and you know, and the people who I thought that were there for me, and you know, weren't. And it was very tough. You know, didn't get my, you know, even for my family, this was something new, so it was hard. You know. And that's when you discover you're an athlete and you don't come from an athletic background or a family who are athletes. That's, I think, one of the biggest challenges, to be honest. It's a very big challenge. A lot of arguments, a lot of you know, disagreements. You don't get the support that you think, and it's tough. It was tough on me. That was a very 2019, 20, and then when we hit COVID, you know, because 2020, that's when I really started, you know, I'm going to go badass on Spartan. You know, I'm going to just go and compete and give it all I've got. And this is when you started seeing me, okay, I'm racing with no shirt on. I'm going to be like, you know, and then COVID happened. No races, no competition. But it was also, COVID was a good opportunity, you know, during lockdown and being at home to do the stuff that you couldn't do. And it was just to go back a bit, it was tough because this is when you know, my priorities started making sense. What I wanted out of life and what you know, what I thought was, and this is when I started discovering community. It was right before Corona. And I met a lot of people from the region. So I spoke about Spartan Kuwait, and then I met, there's a lot of other gyms, like there's Thunders and there's a lot of really, they're all men and women, and respect to each and every one of them. If I would give you a list of names, we would just spend 2 hours just listing, and there's a lot of amazing people in Kuwait. But then I also discovered friends from, you know, in Dubai I met a lot of Emiratis, and in Bahrain met a lot of Bahrainis, and the community there. This was my journey now to becoming a Spartan brand ambassador. But then COVID hit. So when COVID hit, this is when I started, you know, taking courses, learning more about coaching. So I wanted to see if you know, I'm an athlete now. I can run. I got used to running long ultra distances, doing Spartan races, less burpees, way less burpees, maybe failing the spear throw, right? This is one of, I remember before COVID. So all the other obstacles I was okay with. And that took years and years of practice. And the first year was tough, 2018, because I had no guidance that year, nothing. I had to everything was trial and error.
Right.
Everything was, okay, going to Mishraf, for example, and there was these like generic monkey bars, and that's how I used to practice my grip. But then 2019, going to Spartan Kuwait and going to the gym where I was in Viking Club and doing my thing. And one of the greatest thing also, 2019, I know I'm going back a lot, but I met my buddy Simon Khayyat. Okay. And I'm pretty sure your team knows who I'm talking about. They've done their homework, right? So you know everything about me. But you know, we have a good brotherly relationship, me and Simon, and the reason why I'm mentioning him, because when I met him in 2019, we clicked, and he had the goal to achieve, and I helped him, and I had the goal to achieve, and he helped me. So we became like, I think Spartan brothers, right?
Right.
He was there for me at one time, I remember, and this is something very personal. So when I told you about getting 5th place in my age group and almost making it to podium, but I made a stupid mistake in the race, but it's okay, lessons learned, right? And I remember Simon and we took pictures with our medal, and it was an amazing race. He achieved a milestone, I achieved a milestone, but that was November 2019. And then we had the race in January 2020 in Ras Al Khaimah. That short period from post Oman, from post Muscat to Ras Al Khaimah, the race, I was a bit of an asshole, I'll be honest. The ego, I think. Ego, look, there's good and bad ego, right? But,
sure.
there was too much pride. There was too much, I'm the best person. No one can fucking beat me. I'm going to crush everything. You know, and I was overtraining and I was doing everything wrong. And it was a very short period. And guess what happened? I went to Ras Al Khaimah and I screwed up the race, messed it up, fucked it up big time. And the reason why is I lost my humbleness. And then I remember my friend Simon telling me, Mo, you need to slow down. Was one of this is why I'm bringing him up, because I feel like people come into your life sometimes, you know, to teach you something, you know, to give you a warning sign. And we're you know, and that race was very emotional. I was depressed. I actually cut my trip short. I came back to Kuwait, and then I didn't tell anyone I was coming back. I just came back to Kuwait and went to my parents' beach house, and I was just sitting there and depressed, and I was crying. I was just, why is this happening to me? And I remember even, you know, we were together as a team, and like we went to that race. You know, like members from Spartan Kuwait were there, so we were all together as a team. And you know, even friends, I remember telling me, Mo, what's wrong? It's okay. Everyone has a bad race, but I knew why I had a bad race, and I knew I couldn't. So I had to come back to Kuwait, and I made a promise to myself never to be a bad person. And I wasn't a bad person, but to be good to yourself and to always be humble and to control your emotions. And I feel this is very important, because sometimes when you jump, like for example, I told you I got 5th place, and that really overpowered me, and it shouldn't have. You know, I should have been myself, right? Yeah. And not be cocky and let that ego and all that macho shit. So that was a good learning experience, and ever since then I started embracing more community. And then I started looking at people, you know, I think fitness goes beyond just Kuwait. Absolutely. And it's beyond borders. There's no borders when it comes to fitness. And you know yourself more, and you start learning from other people. And then if you think about it for a second, you're more like an ambassador to your country, right? Right. When you're there, you're representing your country, your region, your people, your gym tribe to the best of your ability, and you do it for, you know, with passion. And that's what I do. And that's why I go to Europe a lot. When I go there, it's like I have friends from all over. You know, I did the UK series last year, so I used to go to the UK a lot. I went to London, went to Wales, and I have a good relationship with the Spartan UK community. You know, I'm just fast forwarding now years after COVID, okay, where we started seeing fitness as one world. You know, and this is something I use a lot, one world, and on social media, and when I tell people, you know, we're part of one global community, and it doesn't matter what race, religion, how old you are, your ability or disability, all that doesn't really matter. True. At least for me and for a lot of people, like-minded people, you know. Very true. And that's how you build unbreakable people, through this concept that I think one world. Really, like if we all practice it, and I tell people a lot, and it's not just me. I have a friend, I'm just going to list a few names from people outside Kuwait. So I have a friend called Constantine and Marie and Andreas and Mario and people from UK. These are all ambassadors from Europe, from Germany and UK and Italy and Austria. And we're friends. We see each other at races. We see each other at Sparta. And Sparta is a big thing for Spartan. Right. Sparta, if I can speak freely, is like the Mecca of Spartan race, right? It's where every Spartan race around the world travels to every November to claim victory. And they represent themselves, their country, their family, their everything, and correct. And every country around the world is recognized by Spartan at Sparta. So there's a flag parade where you go with your team. So last year I was vice captain. This year I'm team captain. Nice. The team captain, who's a very, very, very good friend, very good, amazing person, Abdulaziz Mjabel, was team captain. And this year he decided, to appoint me as captain, to take his place. And he saw what I could do. And now we have a team. We're going to Sparta this year. So Sparta is a big thing because we get to really show this one world, this concept of one world. I know you didn't ask me any questions yet. I'm just it's completely going back and forth a lot. Enjoying the journey. But yeah, so 2020, when COVID happened, this is when it actually started thinking, let me take a few courses. So I took Spartan SGX level 1, level 2, and I'm pretty sure you guys all know the history, so I'm not going to get into the details. Let's just get into the juicy part. And I started giving coaching different like boot camps in Kuwait, like during the partial lockdown, and then after they lifted the lockdown, I started doing beach classes. I had a small group, and the group got a little bigger, then it got smaller, then it got bigger. And I realized I'm not a coach, or I'm good as I can coach. I'm a good coach. I have the certificate and all, but I see myself as more than just a coach.
Okay.
A people's person. And I realized I have the energy, the drive, and I've helped, and I realized this, that I want to be beyond just a coach.
Okay.
And this is when the idea, what is it that I'm trying to do? This is what I'm trying to ask myself every day. I want to take fitness to a different level now. I want to level up. I'm going to continue doing Spartan. I'm going to continue being an athlete because that's my passion, and I'm driven by this passion. So I was like, all right, what is it that I do every day? And during COVID, I kept my training going. I actually, and this is when the relationship with amazing people like Alifia and Asif and Pro Sport, I started buying stuff online, just like most people, going, I need dumbbells, I need kettlebells. But I actually did it before the lockdown because I had a feeling. And then I went on Instagram, and I remember I was like, let me just write Kuwait sports equipment. I did that on Instagram on the search. I got Pro Sport. I'm like, I like this company. I have a good feeling about it. And that feeling stands true until today. It built a really good relationship with Pro Sport. They're just not just a fitness or equipment supplier. They're like family. And but just then, and I remember just ordering so much stuff. I converted the roof. We had a small room in the roof. I converted that into a gym. Okay. Put a rope, put a very generic monkey bar, and I kept my grind going. And this is when I was like, I used to say, today I'm going to grind, today I'm going to grind.
Okay.
And then I remember once I sat down with, between me and myself, and I was thinking, what I'm going to call it is the grind, And that's when, I'm going to open something called the grind, and it's going to mean something. And that shit it's not going to represent me. So if you come to the grind today and you see the gym, none of it. I have no medal hanging up in that gym because, like I told you, remember the race I told you about, Ras Al Khaimah? I made a promise, no ego, no self-centered selfishness, none of that. This place is going to be home to every single person. And it's going to resonate with every single person. And I remember telling myself, I was writing this stuff down. I remember it was during the lockdown. Can't travel, can't do race. We couldn't do much.
True.
So I had to think of ideas. And, I'm a productive person. I work for my family business. I have a company with my father. And I'm not the kind of person who can just sit down, And I have a corporate banking background. So my life is all corporate. I always have to be working. So I was thinking, I was always working, putting Excel sheets, numbers, I was like, I'm going to open a business. I'm going to open a gym. And that was a journey on its own. That was a very challenging journey. I'm not going to get into it too much because it's a bit boring, but it took me, from the minute I decided to I want to open something called the grind. And back then I was like, I'm going to call it the grind. I was like, yeah, but the grind what?
Yeah.
It was like grind CrossFit box, and then grind OCR, definitely OCR, and CrossFit. I was like, no, we're not CrossFit. I'm not a CrossFitter. Respect to CrossFitters. Shout out to my buddy Mehdi. Amazing guy. He's one of the inspirations. Like, he kept me going. I'll talk about him in a second. So the grind. So I was like, okay, grind OCR, and it's fitness. I was like, grind OCR, and I started. And then and then I developed the logo and everything. And every day I would jot down ideas. I would actually, when I train, I would think about ways where the grind represents the community. And because I was missing the community during that time, 2020 was a very rough year for everyone around the world. I was like, I miss our community. I miss the races. I miss that feeling. You go there and it's like, you meet everyone, the music is just giving you goosebumps before the race, and then after the race you're covered in mud. and you know, like I said, you'll know at the finish line, and at the finish line we're all like taking pictures with our medals and our swag, and we're buying Spartan t-shirts from merch. It was 2020 when I was trying to keep this alive, and the way I was doing it was I took part in a lot of these Spartan virtual races, right? There was a lot of them happening. So any race that was canceled in Europe became a virtual race. Just a series of workouts you do, you just post it, and then you tag them, and then you get mentioned, and blah, 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 blah. Long story short, I became closer with the community than I was before COVID.
Right.
Imagine during COVID when we don't see each other, but the communication was crazy because everyone was sitting there at home, and all they're doing is either training or they're at home. They're not going anywhere.
True.
But then the people that I met, we became closer. I became closer with Spartan Arabia. I became known by Spartan UK, Italy, Germany, Austria, where else? France, because I took part in all these virtual races during Corona. But then it paid off because a year and a half later, I went to France and did my first comeback race, I call it, after Corona.
Okay.
And I actually did great. I got top 10 in one of the races.
Wow.
I was really happy with the result. For me, I don't care about the podium. I put a goal for myself, a personal goal, because I always want to maintain my fitness level. I'm happy with top 10. And if I make podium, great. If I don't, it's not the end of the world. Community is always more important than the competition. I always make that clear to myself. It doesn't mean I'm not competitively driven. I am. Don't get me wrong.
I think this is where your idea or your philosophy of you versus you started in your mind. I think so, because when you failed, you wanted to compete against others.
Yeah.
But after that, when you became this community-centric mindset, you just wanted to compete with your own self. You just wanted to become better than who you were yesterday. Is that so?
That's true. That's 100% true. It's always, you want to be better than yesterday, and you want that progression to continue. You know, you want to be better tomorrow. And that wasn't something that I just picked up from the internet or anything. It was just something that really I connect with, and I know a lot of people connect with it too. And it's also from a lot of the lessons and a lot of the mistakes and the fucking burpees and everything. So if you take all that and put it in a pot, all right, that's you versus you. So you versus you is the minute, just ignore the noise, mute everything around you, all right? And just focus on yourself. Just focus on yourself, control your emotions. Sometimes we get pre-race jitters so it's only natural, you know, if you're competing, you got to know your competition.
Right.
But your biggest competitor is your own inner demons. It's you, right?
Absolutely.
When you focus on yourself and you're relaxed and you go in there and you know you're competing, I know. And people don't believe me sometimes when I tell them, I don't care about the competition. I know they're there, but let me focus on myself. I'm going to give everything, all the training that I've done to prepare for whatever race that I'm going to. All right? Physically, I'm ready. I have no problem. It's the mental part that really can either make you or break you that day. I've had shitty races where because mentally something was wrong here. The screws were loose, you know? But it's all about you versus you. Just go there. And, you know, when you focus on you versus you, you'll be shocked when you cross the finish line that you've overcome your competition. And the secret there is don't worry about the person next to you. You already know that person's prepared, right? Sure. That day, no matter, it's too late to physically try to perfect something. You've got it, right? You got to tell yourself, I got this. I got this. I know there's competition. And sometimes there will be better people than you physically, and they might finish faster than you. Sure. You know, to focus on yourself that day. So when you're at the start line, give it your all. And I promise you, and I know because I've shocked myself, so I know what I'm talking about, that you'll shock yourself. But that means, it's easier said than done, I'll be honest. Absolutely. Because you have to, you really have to go in, focus on your mantra. Don't let anything get in the way of that. Right? One thing that I do at races is, and when I was in Andorra at the start line, actually because Andorra is part of Spartan Spain, so So one of the organizers from Spain, he was speaking Spanish, and then, the start before the race, this was the European Championship this year in June. He said something in Spanish and he pointed at me, and then he spoke in English, and he's like, this is the guy that always prays at the start line. So I have this thing that I do. It's not really a religious prayer, but I remember the good people that we lost, right? And I lost my cousin in 99. That was a long time ago, but until this day, it's very emotional for me. And at every race, I always feel like he's there in the sky, telling me, you've got this. And this is something, and I'm being a bit personal, I know I'm opening up.
No, it's completely all right.
But
that's very deep.
I do something that I just look up and, I tell God, I'm sorry for all my sins, number one. And I remember my uncle Ahmad, and my cousin, who passed away at the age of 10, 99. And we were very close, and until today, his memory is never forgotten. And even these races, I feel like he's always there. So I do this thing, and it kind of calms my nerves. There's something that everyone does differently, right?
Sure.
And you shouldn't be afraid to do it. No, and I don't care who's looking, right? And I'm not doing it for publicity. I just do it. But he caught the attention of someone, right. And he's like, I've seen you in races before, do this. I was like, yeah. So the point here is, even if you want to be spiritual for a second, even if you want to connect with God for a second, or if you want, if you want to talk to yourself or repeat a certain mantra, do it, because it's all part of the you versus you, right?
Absolutely. Yesterday we had a podcast with our leadership coach, and this thing came up that Kobe Bryant once said, 20% is physical and 80% is mental. So the 20% is all the years and all the days that you've spent working out till the day you're in the competition. And once you're in the competition, it's the 80% your fight against your own mental state. Like, are you ready or not? Are you going to win this or not? Are you going to give your best or not? Are you going to calm yourself or not? So can you touch upon that?
Rest in peace, Kobe Bryant. The guy was full of wisdom. Honestly, I completely agree with this. And I think with time, when you become more prepared, right, physically, I think it becomes more 90% mental, right?
Damn.
Or even 99, when the screws are loose, and that's the mental part, and when you start doing things wrong, you could be practicing day and night for a single race. I would say, let's just say for a 100-meter sprint, you'd be spending hours at the gym, right?
True.
And I've heard this from people, from sprinters, and I never used to believe it before, but you see it. You'd see someone practicing day and night and doing all these drills for 20 seconds, right?
Absolutely.
And you're not the only person at the start line. If you look at the Olympic Games, you'll have lots of athletes after the same thing. They're all hungry for the same thing.
True.
And mentally, if something goes wrong, everything else, don't expect things to work. It won't. I'll tell you this out of experience. I've had bad races, because of all mental. It's all mental. And sometimes people will talk about before the race, oh, this is going to happen, and this affects you mentally. And you let it play in your head over and over, you start doubting yourself. Or at least I'm speaking based on experiences and mistakes and lessons learned from my side. And I'm pretty sure a lot of people have the same experience. So mental has to be strong. And part of mental training is not just waiting for the race day or the week before the race. There has to be some kind of mental exercises or drills that you need to do, in addition to physical. So physically, we're just all there preparing, trying to build, muscles and improve our running efficiency, anaerobic, aerobic, all that. Right. But what about the mental? Have you thought about that for a second? So mental, for example, I would tell you, So going back to what Kobe Bryant said, that's absolutely right. So how do you avoid from going mentally wrong, right, on an important event?
Yeah.
So you got to do a lot of things that kind of humble you down. So for example, I'll tell you one of the things that I do is I wake up at 4:30 in the morning. I don't train at 4:30, but I need at least an hour to 30 minutes to 45 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, just to sit there, drink my coffee, 2 liters of water, and no phones, no laptops, no TV, just sitting there and practicing, doing mantra training or mental practices.
Wow.
Just telling myself that I got this because I have training, right? So for me, when I'm training like I'm going to battle. So if you've read The Art of War by Sun Tzu,
Yeah.
you know,
I have it in my reading list.
you have it on your reading list. So one of the things that Sun Tzu, says is, bleed more in training, less in battle. And then he goes deep into this exercise is where you have to develop a certain force in you mentally.
Mm-hmm.
So I spend around 30 to 45 minutes where I just calm my nerves, relax, say I got this. And then I get up and I go do my training. And then I go about my day. But I see how productive I am throughout the day. And I feel like this is important. And this is good practice leading to race day or the week before any race,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's Spartan or High Rocks or whatever you're doing, Ironman or whatever, or a marathon. You have to have a certain habit or a force of habit in the beginning, and that becomes, part of your daily thing where mentally you're always healthy, not just physically. So focus on your mental health. Love you. It's not wrong to love you first. And people see it as selfish, but it's not. How can you love the people that depend on you if you can't love yourself
Absolutely.
enough to take care of yourself?
True.
Right? Now, I'm no anthropologist or psychologist, but this is all based on trial and error from my side and from reading a lot. But, when they say step out of your comfort zone, it's not just going and doing burpees because you hate them.
Mm-hmm.
It goes beyond that. It's doing the things that really make you feel uncomfortable. And sometimes it doesn't have to be physical. You really have to dig deep inside and be honest with yourself. Ask yourself the questions if you want the answers, right?
Yeah.
Admit about the wrong things that you've done.
Mm-hmm.
Don't put yourself as victim, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't be a victim of any circumstance. Sometimes you're the wrongdoer. Not. It doesn't have to be something wrong has been done to me, right?
Very true.
And I've done this. So this is why I'm at peace with myself. I'm not, like I said, at every race, I always look up. I'm not a religious person. I don't pray 5 times a day, I'll be honest. I'm not that kind of person, but I always look up and say, forgive me for my sins.
That's amazing.
And I'm a good person because I continue to admit these things, and I'm good to people. And you have to be genuinely good to people. So these are the stuff that you have to do to mentally prepare you. The more good you do, I think, if you're an athlete, the more it's like input output. So
Yeah.
You have to be good with
Definitely.
people. You have to be good with nature. I'm actually enjoying this right now, talking about it, just waiting for any question that you have.
So whenever an interviewer asks Cristiano Ronaldo, who you think is the best footballer in the history, he undoubtedly always tells his own name. He's like, I'm the number one. I'm the number one. I think majority of people would be thinking he's arrogant or he's egotistical or something like that. But I think it's the self-belief in him that keeps him pushing forward and forward. That the same philosophy that you follow, it's you versus you. He doesn't even take in consideration any other players in the world. He's not competing with anyone else. He's number one in his own mind, and that kind of helps him to become the best one in reality as well. Isn't that true?
Absolutely, so true. And if you look at Cristiano, I don't support football clubs per se, but Cristiano Ronaldo, if you look at his history, yes, It's absolutely true. Why not? Why not go out there and say, yes, I am number one. I'm number one. And it doesn't mean that you're necessarily the best football player, but in your head, you have to believe that you are the best version of yourself. And again, so when you go back and say, for example, if his response would have been Pele, you know, or Roberto Baggio, or whoever, you know,
Right.
then really you're comparing yourself, if you think about it. It's not you versus you.
Exactly.
So I completely agree, yes, with Cristiano Ronaldo. And it's not arrogance. It has nothing to do with arrogance. And don't be afraid to say, yes, I am the best. You're not downgrading anyone. You're not putting anyone down. So if Ronaldo says it, doesn't mean that he's putting Messi down. No.
Right. Of course, yes.
He's just being honest with the world.
True.
But maybe people don't like honesty too much, right?
Yeah, people want to live in delusions. Yeah. I had this question. You had this period of, let's say, 18 months or so where you had like 3 big races.
Yeah.
Right? I would be devastated to know that what did you do to your body? I mean, just after one race, you would need like 2 to 3 months of resting period just to recover your body from whatever you lost.
Yeah.
How did you do all of that? Like, how did you keep your body in check with what your mental state was?
Honestly, I just had this thing in my gut that was telling me, Mo, you can do it. And one of the things that I do here, and the people that know me would agree with this, is that I'm a crazy motherfucker when it comes to training, okay? I train so hard, and that's just me because I have a goal. And one of the things that I do is I allow myself to be comfortable with fatigue. So I reach the point of fatigue where I peak, and I'm comfortable with it. And I've adjusted and acclimated with that. Now it's, in theory and in science, they would disagree, right?
Yeah.
But for someone who does back-to-back races, at one point, it was just back-to-back-to-back races. And I would be traveling from the deserts of Abu Dhabi to Sparta to UK and championship, and then Salalah, Oman. There were so many races going on, I remember. And it was just traveling and racing. And yes, it is tiring. But, you know, practice makes perfect. And I remember in 2021, we did the Spartan Abu Dhabi World Championship. It was in Abu Dhabi. It was in Liwa, the empty quarter, which is the border of Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates.
Okay.
And at the empty quarter is the second highest sand dune on the planet after Morocco.
Wow.
And it's the toughest. And I remember on the way there, I met an Emirati guy. He's like, you guys are running there? We don't go in our cars. It's,
Shit.
you know, I was like, shit. And then I remember we're driving, and then Simon was like, the fuck is this? Like, we're looking at this. We're like, these sand dunes are so scary. And there was this one sand dune called Tel Mur'ab. It was, and anyone who ran the Spartan Abu Dhabi World Championship in 2021 would tell you that was a fucking beast sand dune. That shit was that would make a grown man cry. Right? No, that race was that was savage, beyond savage. But that's one of the races, and after that there was a lot of back-to-back, right? And then I did the UK age group series. So it was after December 2021. It was bam, race. I was physically active in terms of, in fitness. My fitness lifestyle, I mean, I was doing a lot of vigorous training. Everything was high intense. I was running long distance as well. I was doing a lot of speed sessions, slow long distance running, but really long distance. And sometimes I'll be training 2-3 times a day, focus on my nutrition as well. And believe it or not, and people don't believe me when I tell them, I eat everything. I don't have a diet plan. I just eat whole foods.
Okay.
Sometimes I splurge. I like burgers and stuff. We're human, right? I just have an unconventional way of thinking when it comes to fitness and nutrition. And sometimes people don't agree, but it's worked for me and it's got me to where I am. I'm not going to say that I'm a food junkie 24/7, but I love good food, right? Who doesn't? And I do train a lot, but I factor in a lot of recovery.
Okay.
To make sure I don't get injured. But that's a lot of recovery and a lot of money spent on recovery. But it's important, you know. The higher the intensity you do, the more, you know, intense your workouts are. And you if you don't factor that in, then you could be in serious trouble.
Definitely.
And that got me in trouble in 2020 before COVID. I got a glute injury and then Corona happened. No iyadat in Kuwait. And I was like, damn. I can't go to a clinic. I can't go to my recovery center because everything's on lockdown.
Shit.
So learned a lesson. Yeah, recovery is important. But yes, to answer your question, you have to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. You have to do the things that you don't like. You have to wake up early in the morning, even on your recovery days. You have to focus on the mental. You have to convince this first before you work on this. A friend of mine once said, and you know, I was having a debate with a friend, or we were just talking and something casually came up. He's like, no, it's not the mind controls the body. You have to control the mind so the mind controls the body. And this kind of really resonated with me, you know? Really, I connected with that because, yeah, I have to control this first so this can control this, right?
Damn.
That's deep,
really
right?
deep.
That's deep shit right there. I know.
We're in a philosophy class right now.
Yeah, I mean,
I think your whole life is part of philosophy.
yeah. I mean, I did study international relations and history. That was my major
Wow.
in university.
Amazing.
And took a lot of philosophy classes. But away from that, I like to question a lot. That's my nature. Since I was...
David Goggins?
Hell yeah. Who doesn't, right?
Who
David
doesn't?
Goggins. Really. I respect that. Thank you so much. Means a lot. I like David Goggins. Yeah. He's someone who I agree with. I agree with a lot of the stuff he says.
I think he follows the same criteria of being comfortable,
Yeah.
and going beyond the fatigue stage as well. Like,
And then there's Ben Greenfield who says the same thing. Yeah, you have to be uncomfortable. You have to do things that are unconventional. Who says that, you know, I got to watch my macros 24/7?
Yeah.
Dude, just get that T-bone and just enjoy life. And part of enjoy the fitness journey. If fitness is boring and it's just routine, then for me, why do it? Right? Let's be realistic for a second. A lot of us who do these races, we have full-time jobs, right? And if you don't, so if after you leave work, you're going to the gym or you're training, if you don't love what you're doing, why do it?
yeah,
Right? If it doesn't align with your expectations and your values and what you want to do and why you got into it in the first place, if it's just out of force and necessity, if people make you feel like, if it's too serious all the time and there's no element of fun, what's the point?
right.
Fitness has to be fun. There is seriousness, of course. There needs to be discipline. You do have to make, you know, if you want to get into this, if you want to be an athlete, yes, there's things you have to do, but you also have to enjoy it, I think.
Absolutely, definitely.
Yeah, but David Goggins, yes, one of the people I really agree with. I agree with a lot of people who are rebels, I think,
Okay.
to the game, and who really challenge
Right.
and have this unorthodox way of thinking.
As you know, in our earlier stages of our podcasting, we had a lot of athletes as guests and a lot of fitness people as guests. Mr. Mohammad Al-Attar, Alifia,
Yes.
Mr. Ahmed Al-Uqla, and I was really in a bad shape in that period of time, and I was really ashamed of inviting these people onto my podcast while I'm not in the best shape of my life, and I was ashamed of that, and I was like, should I invite them or not? But what happened was, to the contrary, those people started motivating me,
Yeah.
and I'm still not in the best shape of my life, but I started after that, and I lost 21 kilos.
Yeah.
I was like 123, and now I'm like around 102. Still a long way to go. I need to lose. I need to become like 85 or something like that. But yeah, I started after talking. So if I was ashamed, then I wouldn't have invited these people. I would have never been on this journey to losing and becoming the best version of myself. So I just wanted to share something.
That's amazing, by the way. And you actually invited the best people. You just mentioned the names of amazing people. And I think having Alifia and Mohammad al-Attar, they're amazing people. Even Mohammad, I remember like when I used to go to the gym, as soon as gyms opened after Corona, so I used to go morning classes at Spartan, and Mohammad was coach there. We did a lot of amazing stuff. He's one of the, respect to this guy, really, really amazing person. And Alifia, of course, Alifia. So when you have these names here, you don't have to be ashamed. True. You never have to be ashamed. And, you know, and I think this is, you brought up an important point. I mean, we're human, right?
Right.
And we're not perfect. We all have, there's always a background story with everything. But you know, you've put in the work. And of course, you saw results and you enjoyed the small wins and you enjoyed the big ones. And part of our job or our responsibility as people in the fitness industry or as athletes or coaches or whatever is never to put people down, and part of strength is to always uplift people. And anyone who puts you down, and I'll say this publicly, honestly, because you know that's just bad.
Right.
That's bad energy. It's bad. I've seen people who put others down and they're negative, they're toxic, they have this, and I stay away from them.
Right.
And then I think we should all stay away from them.
Definitely.
And fitness, even if someone comes in and they're really overweight or they have an issue or they have this, you don't put that person down.
Right.
And I've seen people put other people down. You know, I've seen, and everyone has a story. You know, not to get into the detail of people's stories, but I've been around people who really have a hard life, or have to deal, who come from a broken family, who have this, who have weight issues. You know, the gym is like a sanctuary. It's like a place for people to really let all that out and bring something good in to fix their life.
Right.
And, you know,
so true.
Weight management has a lot to do with emotions,
Right.
I really believe that. And, you know, at one point when I was depressed, for example, when I was a kid, I would not eat, lose a lot of weight. I was a skinny kid, really skinny kid. And then after college, when I was, you know, whenever I was stressed or upset or depressed, I would overeat. So weight management has a lot to do with emotions.
Right. And
we should never put, you should always motivate people, but it has to be naturally motivating people. And, you know, I believe we're all unbreakable. We have this unbreakable spirit that you have it, I have it, you know, you guys have it, we all do.
Right, absolutely.
Right? To really like change some of the stuff. I've changed a lot in me, and I've worked really hard.
Yeah.
And a lot of people think, you know, it was some people might think it was easy, but no, trust me, bro, when I tell you, there were a lot of sleepless nights. There was a lot of sacrifices, a lot of fights, there's a lot of shit that goes on that people don't know. People only see the big wins. Like, for example, if you look at Spartan, you have big names in Spartan race such as Ryan Atkins, who won the championship. You probably put in a lot of, people don't know all the sacrifices and hard work that you do behind the scenes. You see NBA players like Michael Jordan, right?
Yeah.
Michael Jordan, I mean, all time, you know, one of the favorites, top NBA player. But he said it before, he's missed more than 50 shots.
True.
Right? He's, you know, like, you see all these athletes, they've failed so many times and eventually succeeded because it's hard work, sweat, and it's a lot of sacrifice, you know?
Definitely,
Yeah.
definitely. I had so much pleasure talking to you, knowing your story, learning your life's journey. And I will make it a point to join your gym your community.
Thank you so
I want
much.
to. I badly want to.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And then you're always welcome to come join the gym. And, you know, the nice thing about our gym, or the nice thing about the grind, is you'll see people from different walks of life, different kind of people, but we might be different in many ways, but one thing brings us in common is the love and passion we have for fitness.
Absolutely.
And that's the part of, you know, bridging the gap to build the community.
One thing I wanted to share, like,
Yeah.
I've been to multiple gyms through the course of life, but I've always felt empty, or I've always felt lonely.
Yeah.
I've always felt there's no one to look at me or take me up a notch. You know, this is what you're doing wrong. This is what you're doing right. Of course, you can take a personal trainer and that solves the problem, but then it's just for the financial gains. And there's nobody, like you said, it's not a community, so nobody is doing it out of love.
Yeah.
So it's so important, and you've moved me to joining your gym, and just because for the community. Definitely, I'll do it.
Yeah, that's so true. I agree with you. I've been where you are. That does exist, and I've seen it, and I've seen the profit-driven coaches who are just after profit. I've seen the negative coaches. The feeling of emptiness. I know.
Right.
I've been to gyms I've registered at a gym once, 3 months, went for 2 days. That's it. I felt empty as well, so I can connect to that. But there's one thing I want to ask you.
Please.
I don't know if you want to end this. I'm enjoying this, so because it's real, raw, and not
absolutely.
scripted.
I'm loving this. Yes.
You wanted to see the art, right? The graffiti.
Yes, I have it here.
Okay. Also, we're just getting started. Okay, I have all night, so it's fine. Yeah.
Please.
So you had a question about that, or is this?
Yeah, I just wanted you to share your story behind all these graffiti arts.
All right, so we're looking at. You want me to put this up or just leave it? Leave it, right? Yeah. All right, so you versus you will always be your biggest fight, all right? And this is, I think, what we've touched based upon this podcast. And going back when we talked about your inner demons, you always have to fight your inner. So you versus you, whether you hit the start line, the minute you wake up, that kind of mindset. And if I want to talk about this art, what I told you earlier, nothing in the gym, if you walk into the grind, I made it very clear, like I worked so hard to make sure that it represents everyone, even the art. And this is one of the things. So if you look at, this was done by a graffiti artist, a local. One of the things I wanted to do is artwork, because I love art. I love art, not just graffiti and street art, and this art is also music. So I'll talk about that in a second. But I wanted the artwork to reflect the stuff that I like more than just who I am, or just, this is Mo, because that's just not my personality at all. So here, you see the helmet, so that's the Spartan helmet, so you know that, okay, it's an OCR gym. So the guy with the glasses and hat and the bandana, well, that could be any person.
Right.
But like I said, someone zoning out, or, you know. But the hat is, I'm giving you secrets here. That's my lucky hat from Born Primitive. And I want to talk about Born Primitive in a second, because they're not just fitness apparel, but there's like a family or human connection that I had with them. So this quote really reflects on that. And then you see the kettlebells and stuff like that, and there's a sled. Well, that kind of reflects the sports that we're in. So if I can show you here, okay, the next one. Okay, so this is the wall signed by every single person who walked in to the grind.
Wow.
So this is one of the walls.
Very soon my signature will be there.
I can't wait. It better be there soon, because you're going to owe us burpees if I don't see it. Yeah. So we have that. That was during the soft opening.
Okay.
And the body achieves what the mind believes. And this was actually...
it's deep.
This is very deep, and very personal, and very deep. But it's so true. It holds true. And and a friend of mine, actually, I was looking for the perfect quote to put up on the wall, and a very good friend actually gave me that quote, told me, how about this? And I was like, yeah, that's the one, So this, and then, again, that could be any person training. It's not me.
Right.
Just pointing out that's not me. And then you have where the obstacles are. You have the grind done in graffiti. It's not the actual logo of the grind.
Mm-hmm.
And that was really cool. I am unbreakable. And then with the Spartan. So that really reflects Spartan OCR.
Right.
OCR. More the obstacle course racing, more than just Spartan. And then you see the chalk walls. So we have the chalk walls. We don't use whiteboards. I don't like whiteboards. I believe more in chalk, right?
Okay.
So that's where we write workouts. People sign. We have one last thing I want to show you is above the cabinet.
Mm-hmm.
There's a rule book. And the rule book is on the wall. Leave your ego out the door and keep it real.
Damn.
That's the rule of the gym. Just leave
That's
the ego
amazing.
outside, all right? And so behind the reception, there's a wall as well,
Mm-hmm.
where we had members after the soft opening of the gym.
Mm-hmm.
People became members. They came, they drew. We have a guy, so Salim, one of our members, also amazing person. He was the first person who gifted me something, and it was meant a lot. And he wrote a really nice note to it, and I still have it at the gym. And every time one of the members, any person who comes in and adds some human touch to the place, we keep it at the gym. I believe this is part of, what the grind is really about. And I've had dedicated a wall just for people to come and express through art, through quotes, through writing something. And it's just growing. And the more it grows, I think the more, emotional I get when I see this,
It's like a scrapbook.
Yes, it's like a scrapbook. And that's pretty much the art.
You've put your heart out into this gym.
Oh, trust me. I've put my heart, I've put everything into this. And I really couldn't have done it without the love of my family, my parents, my kids, my cousins, some of my close cousins, my brothers, everyone, friends, family. There's a lot of people. Like I'm blessed. I'm blessed with my life. I know that as we grow older, the circle gets smaller and smaller.
Right.
But couldn't have done it without the love and support of a lot of people. This long journey, so it's been almost 6 years now, but since 2018 until now, I'm completely a different person. So if you look at Mo June 2018, I was a completely different person. And what I had to do then to become the person I am now, it's really tough. I can tell you, there were moments, really, really tough moments. There was a lot of time away from kids. There was a lot of time away from family. I've lost a lot of people, like I told you. Forget about the competition and the community for a second. You're surrounded by nature, the element of nature around you. I've been to so many beautiful places. Of course, you go to Europe, you have the Alps and you have the mountains and you have all that. But I'll tell you, for example, in the region, I discovered, think of UAE. Now, if you ask anyone, UAE, Dubai, Abu Dhabi, right?
Right.
There are places, hidden treasures in the United Arab Emirates, for example, or in Oman as well. So beautiful, so scenic.
Wow.
Even the desert, the sand, you appreciate that. Because you go through hardship. But you get to a point at one point, and I think a lot of people who do OCR, obstacle course racing, can agree with this. You get to a point, you just admire the nature for a second. And it humbles you down. It makes you appreciate life more and become more with the inner self more than the outer, and you become less materialistic. At least I can speak for myself.
Mm-hmm.
I remember in 2000, so in after COVID, I was trying to do something, trying to gain people's attention in a way. I had an idea that I wanted to do, change the game, do something different, show. I had a lot of energy. I was rejected by so many people. I've approached companies. I was rejected. They thought I was crazy, or they thought, yeah, this is too ludicrous. Born Primitive didn't. They said, let's do it. I was like,
Damn.
they had an idea, I had an idea, and then I told them, listen, I want to do this. They're like, okay, let's see, let's do it. We did an event. It was a suffix, it was a rodent race. And I'm just going to tell you, I took it to town. I did the activation for them, and automatically I felt I was part of the family. And that started my relationship with Born Primitive, because not only do they give you, it's not just a company that sells fitness apparel. No, it's athletically driven, honestly. I'm an athlete, and, you know, they really supported me. Everything that I wanted to do until today. And I think they're game changers. Even the people who have it here in Kuwait, or, you know, they're not just thinking, we want to sell t-shirts and shorts and apparel. No, they're really putting their hands in the community. And I told you, I've sat down with so many companies before.
Yeah.
Let's just say they gave me the bird and told me in a nice way.
Yeah, you just need one hand that can hold you.
Yeah.
To succeed.
So Born Primitive were one of them, and I don't know if you have any more questions you want to talk about.
I mean, I actually came up with a lot of
tell
questions,
me. Yeah.
but I didn't have to open these because you answered all of them.
Oh, that's good.
You answered all of them in your journey. Like usually when our guests come, and I have to ask them one by one, but you answered all the questions. I mean, it was like you knew all the questions, what we were going to answer.
I just had a hunch, you know, and I don't like the question and answer, to be honest. Okay.
So, like, just a quick summary of your life and one message to the audience.
Okay. Quick summary of my life. I don't know if you know this, but I've lived part of my life outside Kuwait. I went to a Catholic school in Lebanon. If I can leave anyone with any advice, don't let other people dictate your goals, and you do it for yourself. Not even me. I have no right to tell anyone what his or her goals are. But the reason why I say it is because you see it. I see it. I see a lot of this pressure from some coaches, from people in the. No, you could. No, don't do that. If I can, I think it's wrong. It's absolutely wrong. Is that you're the person sitting in the driver's seat. Never let go of the steering wheel. Because that gut feeling, whatever it's telling you, that's the only thing that's going to stick. Everything else, you never know. Everything is in God's hands.
So true.
You could lose someone tomorrow. Everything's in God's hands. The only thing that stays is the gut. If you're not going to follow that. And I followed it every step of the way. But again, it's not an easy street. Allow yourself to fail because it's part of the process. Failure really hits hard sometimes. You have to experience bad days, doubt. You have to experience losses in order to win. You're not going to win overnight.
Of course, it's a long journey. It's a lifelong journey.
It's definitely a lifelong journey, and it's not going to stop. And if you get to a mountain, you're always going to want to climb a higher mountain, right?
So true.
So keep that longevity going.
Regarding letting go, you said you have to let go of a lot of things in order to succeed. I heard something today. Yeah, it said something like, if you don't sacrifice for the things that you want, the things that you want will become the sacrifice.
Yeah.
So that hit me really deep and really hard. A lot of us don't really want to sacrifice our comfort zone, staying in the cocoon and not letting go of the things that you want for the things that you want. That really hit me really hard. And talking to you now, I have to make some decisions in my life now. I'll go back. Yesterday's podcast, the guest told me that you have to go back, sleep on your pillow, and revisit the day and make some decisions that will change your life. So I have to do that today as well.
Yeah.
The final question that I had was again from yesterday's podcast. The guest asked me, I want to ask you,
Sure. Yeah.
what is success to you and what is failure to you? Because apparently those are two different things. So I want you to answer me in your life.
Well, I would say success is something so general. It's so hard to define success, because the minute we think this is success, we realize no, we're not done. I think failure is an opportunity in disguise. This is what I see failure. I think it's not really failure. I think failure are the lessons that sometimes we don't see, and the problems that we try to ignore or avoid or push away, just because we've stumbled down, just because we fell, right?
Yeah.
And I think
It's amazing.
what people say about you after you're gone will determine your success.
Do you guys remember something? I think if after my death, people don't remember what I've done for them or what I've done in life,
Yeah.
I think that would be a failure for me.
Yeah, legacy.
Yeah, absolutely. This was the same answer I gave yesterday about legacy. I gave a similar answer because he asked me the question, and I was like, for me, the success is what people remember about me after I'm gone.
Yeah.
It's not when I'm here, because then that will be like egotistical. But when I'm gone, how will people remember me, and what legacy I leave behind? That's the true success, according to me.
100%, bro. It's good to have small successes, right?
Yeah.
Wins are good.
Yeah.
A lot of people, I think, in my humble opinion, mistake success for wins. Success is, like you said, and I completely agree with you, and I think we both agree with each other with this. It's eventually what we leave behind. And it doesn't have to be just making the press that we won, the whatever. It could be something you leave behind to your kids, right?
Absolutely.
Some fortune or whatever it is, right? Yeah. That determines, and what the good people around you, your family, even community, what you leave behind. But I think people always, when they mistake it for, okay, he won Champions League, he won this, he won that. That's a win. It's not success. We're not done.
That is so deep.
You know? I had someone once come up to me, oh yeah, you're opening the grind, so you have no... all right, so you're not going to race anymore. I'm like, no, I'm racing, dude. Hell yeah, I'm racing. And they're like, yeah, but you're done. I'm like, no, I'm not done. Right?
I've just began.
You know, there is a saying which
Yeah.
says that you should always plant a tree where you don't plan to take a shelter.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's oh, wow. That is really deep. No, I think we need to interview you now. But that's awesome. I'm actually... Yeah, I'm going to ask you to send me that. That was nice. Yeah. Yeah.
Touched my heart.
I mean, we can talk a lot, I know, about a lot of stuff. And I think we need maybe another...
Yeah, like a
definitely more sessions.
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you so much, brother. Thanks, Abdu.
Thank you so much. It was lovely talking to you.
Lovely talking to you.
It was a completely different... It was like a Zen mode, you know?
Yeah.
Like a spirituality session, something like that.
Yeah. I like... yeah. See, this is better than just having... everything being scripted or talking about the science or getting into, I achieved this or I achieved that. That shit for me.
Yeah.
This is more meaningful.
Once you started, I just I felt like these questions are pointless
Yeah.
because the way you were speaking, I was like, okay, we don't need this.
Yeah.
So I didn't even look at it once.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, everything is on the table now.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it a lot.
I enjoyed it too. I'm glad the questions were like, how many races have you done? 82. How many of this? I have two podiums. Okay. Yeah, I mean, this is more meaningful.
Yeah, right.
We really like.
Right.
I got to know you as well,
Thank
and
you.
I'll be more than happy to come back
Sure, definitely.
if you have another thing you
have
want to
to.
ask or getting to another topic. More than happy,
Inshallah, definitely we'll do it.
and stay active, brother.
Yeah, I have to.
Yeah.
Inshallah, joining soon.
Inshallah, you're
Cool.
more than welcome
Thank you.
anytime.
Thank you so
And
much.
this is
Thank you.
just something I want to give you.
My goodness.
This is to remind you that you're you have an unbreakable spirit.
Wow.
Thank you.
OCR and fitness, the grind. You versus. Oh shit. I have to wear this.
This is for you, man.
Thank
Looks
you.
amazing. Bling,
Thank
bling.
you.
Love it.
Thank you. Thank you. I don't know. I can't express what's happening in my heart right now.
You don't need to. Eyes can speak.
Thank you
Yeah.
so much. Thank you.
You're most welcome, man.